So you can do it. You can say that I lied to you. You can say that in all of Web 101, which would be true, that I kept saying, this is really all that you need to make a good front end website, something that meets the needs of your unknown potential future client, right? Should sound familiar. I think it sounds familiar. And now here we are, potentially just 7 days later, or for some of you, an entire calendar year later. But here we are, a little bit later, and what I am telling you is that's not the whole story. So while it's not a lie that you could certainly go out there and create a web page with that's all you need with just HTML and just CSS. Curtis, I'm looking at you. I know that you're making that assumption here. And yeah, that's true. But what I'm saying is that that is not going to be the experience, excuse me, that everybody has for what they need the web to be. So the problem with having a page that is made entirely from the ground up by you, the developer, in HTML and CSS is the idea of scale. So is it true that you could make your layout project 2? Remember the one we started with berries on layout project 1, right? We would have had a big banner image and we would have said berries are dope, and then we would have had 2 images underneath it. Raspberries are pretty great. Blueberries are even better. And then we would have had a little bit of content down there. Blueberries are brought to you by squirrels pooping them in the woods, or whatever the case is with how blueberries get made. And all of those things are true. But what happens if you are doing an entire web site, managing an entire property where it's you and several other developers that are part of Big Blueberry, right? So you are sending out lobbying messages to every senator, to every state senator, to every rep who will have you. We want blueberries on the map. This is the way we're going to do it. And you have to put thousands of these emails together. And in each of those emails, you have pictures of blueberries. And don't listen to the lies that Big Granola tells you berries are the way to go, or whatever the case might be, right? So now we've got a scale that is much, much larger than just one static web page. We've got hundreds of emails, all that have to go out, and all of those are in HTML. We've got dozens of different landing pages going out every week. A new organization comes along and you want them to be touting the benefits of the berries. So that's a scale issue. Now you've got dozens of developers in there, everybody furiously making content that has to go out to tens of thousands of different kinds of clients. So that might be hundreds of thousands of clients overall. And at that point, it is complete lunacy to imagine that you could be doing all of that from the ground up with HTML and CSS. It's moving too fast. The scale is too big, and there's no way that even with an army of developers that you could keep up with that. So instead, we have to rely on platforms to be able to do this with us and for us. The for us part, I've always no, nothing's magic. You, the developer, or you as a team of developers have to do it yourselves. There is no magic here. And that's what we're going to see here in this course. That it's still up to you, the developer, to make those granular little changes to make your berry lobbying firm look different and better than every other berry lobbying firm out there. So that's why we have to expand on HTML and CSS. So what we are going to see are essentially the different layers that we could use to help us make that expansion. So we're going to start with a kind of an amalgamation of things. We are going to see Atom, A-T-O-M. I know I pronounce it with a D. Atom, we are going to see as a viable alternative to Brackets, which is still my favorite developer's environment. We are going to see Dreamweaver as a WYSIWYG, a what you see is what you get, rapid web page developer. That rapid web page developer is actually based on a framework. That framework is called Bootstrap. We are going to see the Bootstrap framework. But what happens when I am sending out, tens of thousands of emails to all of my differently named clients? I can't, as Big Blueberry, I can't say, dear sir or madam. That's bullshit, right? We have to say, Curtis, we have to say Wesley, we have to say Ari, and it has to be pointed specifically at each of your clients. That's where we need the server side to do that for us, to take an email address and match it with a first name and a last name and potentially even an address or whatever it is that we would need there. That's where we're going to start to rely on these server side technologies. We're going to look at PHP and we're going to look at JavaScript as ways to build dynamic web pages. And that dynamic part means a whole host of different things. It's going to be dynamic in that if we have a desktop or a tablet or a mobile site, that it is going to be able to render on those pages as if they were natively built for those pages, which will be true-ish in the same way that your media queries indicated that you were building a web page specifically for those different, sizes of devices. But we're going to use different methods to get us there. So that's the kind of overview we're going to take here with the course. The underpinnings of all of those, of PHP's ability, of JavaScript's ability, of Dreamweaver's ability to be able to crank out those pages at a scale that we're using here in 2020. All of that relies still and genuinely on the underpinnings of HTML and CSS underneath them. So despite the inclination to believe that I lied to you, I did not lie to you. I did the typical education retreat so we can advance thing. So we got as far as HTML and CSS are reasonably going to take you. And what we're going to do is we're going to build forward from that foundation with the rest of all of these technologies.